builders making moves, the projects shaping the culture, the unfiltered thinking behind it all. This is Let's Ride, the weekly podcast from BMX that takes you inside the on-chain world. Welcome to the ride.
Hello, everybody, GMBM, and welcome to our weekly Let's Ride live stream. This is a very exciting show today. As many of you have seen on the timeline, we had some very big news break yesterday, and yeah, it only feels right to start off this show today, Deez, with kind of giving an update to the community from our end. But before we get into everything, Deez, do you want to cover our disclaimer real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So everything you hear today is non-financial advice. Please do your own research. This is all for educational purposes only, as always. Don't take advice from anyone on the internet, and you should read the docs. And yeah, let's get into the update here. And we're finishing up final fixes for Daily Swap push from the recent audit contest. But the major news is BMX has expanded its horizons by miles in its reach on the media with our new Director of Community and Content. I would love to introduce for the first time, Rachel Onchain, as we have recently acquired her and her prowess and the on-chain media infrastructure. We are just super excited to get started and to see how far we can go. We've done so much already, but oh my goodness, the firepower that we have now. So yeah, what are your thoughts? How do you feel?
I mean, I have just been on cloud 9 since yesterday. I will admit it was a very long day. You know, hours and hours of calls, talking with the BMX team. The community just calls, DMs, such an outpouring of support from the entire community. And by the way, there's a lot of comments. I'm going to go through and make sure I respond to every single person that showed support. But yesterday, it was a big day. And yeah, Dana, you're coming on for a stream today. It's a very exciting time right now for on-chain media, for myself, for BMX. So we're going to dive into Odos Protocol here in a minute, and I'd love to take a moment to introduce you. But first, I want to show you guys that we are still, whoops, let me share this tab instead. We are still trending in today's news. This broke yesterday. I don't know what time we shared the announcement, but the fact that this has been received so positively by the community, it was actually trending at one point at the same time as Brian Armstrong and some news from Coinbase. So yeah, I'd say it's been received very well. There's so many different posts, just people sharing support. You know, we had Gauji create a video here talking about this. So that was really cool to see. Shout out to Gauji too. He's been at, you know, all of our live streams, all of our shows. They're supporting from the beginning. So thank you, Gauji, for your support. And nice monitor, man. We got the same monitor there. I love to see it. And yeah, just seeing the outpouring of support, it shows me that we are on the right trajectory. Everyone's received this so positively and supported us. And yeah, it feels really good. And, you know, it's like on-chain media is my baby. I've worked on it for the past year plus, as many of you know, in the space. So it's a very exciting moment. So anyway, just very grateful, very excited, and looking forward to diving into our episode today. So yeah, without further ado, Dana, I want to pass it off to you to give your introduction. If you don't mind giving a quick overview of who you are, your background, and what your current role is at Odos Protocol.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. First off, congratulations.
Thank you.
I appreciate you inviting me to be the first one after your announcement. But yeah, my name is Dana Valletta. I lead developer relations at Odos. I've been in crypto since about 2014. I'm originally from the US, but I've been living in Rio de Janeiro on and off for the past 10 years. And in the beginning, I would work for myself doing infrastructure build outs for small fintech companies in the US and Brazil. But every month when I had to pay invoices, I would spend several hours on the phone with customer service, pleading with them that they were not fraudulent. So when I started reading about vendor neutral internet money, I was like, oh yeah, this is like, you know, the logical progression of everything. So I got into it using it as a currency first and trading second. Looking back and thinking about how much money has passed through my hands, you know, I go crazy. I should have been hoarding it like a maniac, but I did start using it as a currency as an early adopter. I got wrecked in 2018, kind of left it on the shelf until DeFi summer in 2020. And since then I've been focused pretty much exclusively on DeFi.
Yeah, well, I think the work you're doing is very important for our space in the in the DeFi vertical. And I do want to dive into like all about Odos Protocol, but I'm really curious to learn a bit more about you. Like, how did you first get into crypto, and can you tell us about that path to Odos and what made you want to lead DevRel?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been working with Odos for a little bit over a year. They were my customer at my previous company when I was selling infrastructure, and I really liked the product. I really liked the problem that they were solving. And I just generally like talking about DeFi more than infrastructure. So when a need arose, I jumped ship. I've been working in Web3 professionally for about 4 years and technology roles for about 20 years. I was an infrastructure guy for a long time. I was an escalation engineer for enterprise data storage products. But after a while, I got kind of burnt out and decided I wanted to get more into sales operations, be more customer facing. And I like the autonomy working at startups. I like the material that I work with. And I like talking to builders and solving problems, especially from people all over the world. So yeah.
Awesome. And how long have you been in the space?
Off and on since 2014, but it's not a linear route. Like the activity that we see today, like I couldn't really imagine it back then. So altogether, I'd say like 7 years on and off.
Wow. So you're OG. Yeah, he's OG Deez. We got another one on the show who's just been around building, making waves for many years.
Yeah, well, since we have this, such a deep history, I mean, our next question here is what is Odos and why does it matter and stuff. But I'd love to get your take on kind of the evolution of aggregators. Aggregators have come such a long way, and it's a highly competitive sector. So maybe we start there, and then we can dive into Odos to kind of give that context of the broad field, and then dial into how Odos is, taking their shot at becoming a differentiator.
Yeah, absolutely. So Odos is an advanced DEX aggregator, but we also have an asterisk that says, we are a DeFi abstraction platform. We index over 1,150 liquidity sources across 16 EVM chains to find the conditions for the most favorable trade. We index AMMs, DEXs, collateralized debt positions, lending markets, private order books, RFQ providers. We have both a DApp and a free public API at odos.xyz. We also enable traders to swap up to 6 input and output tokens in a single transaction. We also support what we call protected market orders, which is a fixed output swap product, meaning that you receive the tokens exactly as they're displayed in the quote with price impact, slippage, and gas included. We've been in operation for about 3 years, and we've done about 100 billion in swap volume in that time. So we use some proprietary language. Smart order routing is our main one. That's our flagship product. And when we talk about smart order routing, we mean the workflow of taking your trade parameters, such as input, output tokens, and we parse through all the liquidity sources, and we find which route will give you the best return. And if you're not familiar with the term route, just think of it as the path between A and B that your trade will take between those liquidity sources to give you the highest output value. Now, in the early DEX aggregators would just stitch together a bunch of Uniswap pools and just kind of throw the order in the air, and wherever it landed is where it landed. What Odos did, the Justin and Matt Diebel, they're brothers. They were working at Semiotic at the time, was the core dev team for the Graph protocol. They were working on a pricing engine, and they found that the pricing data was so valuable that they built a DEX aggregator around it. One of the flagship features of this algorithm is, say that you have a $1,000 trade. We will identify that the first hop in the path will only trade $250. And then we might find the next hop will do 250, another 100, another 100, all the way down the line to maximize the output value of your trade. You still with me? You're breaking up a little.
Oh, I had a feeling we might lose him there.
Oh, did we lose Dana?
Yeah, I had a feeling it was getting a little choppy. Let's Let's just give them a moment to come back in. But yeah, Deez, I'm curious with your extensive background in DeFi, like you've, obviously have a wealth of knowledge on this stuff. I'm curious your thoughts on the evolution of aggregators. Are we losing you too? You might be muted if you're trying to talk here. Did I lose you, Deez? All right, looks like I lost everybody, guys. I don't know what's going on today. Shout out to everyone that's in the comments. We're just gonna hang out and see if they can both rejoin. Dialethea, shout out Dialethea, an early hello. Okay, Dialethea is still here, so it's still a party, you guys. I see the comments coming through. GMBM Gougy, absolute legend. Thank you for your video. Maybe Gougy, you can hear me. Okay, great. Maybe Gougy, while we wait for our other guests and my co-host to come back. Cali Crypto's in the comments too. We love you, Cali Crypto. All right, Gougy, what I'm gonna do is show your video while we wait. I've never lost every single person on a live stream. This is the first. Dana, I lost both you and Deez. I was here hanging with everybody for a minute.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't just me. All right,
yeah, it was both you and Deez
the infamous double rug. You love to see it.
That was a lot of fun. I see people in the comments. I was cracking up because I'm just like here by myself, talking to myself. I was gonna say for Gougy, maybe, since I saw Gougy in the comments, maybe taking a moment to show his video would be nice, but we'll come back to it at the end. So yeah, Deez, I was asking you about, kind of your thoughts as well on the evolution of aggregators, since you have a wealth of knowledge in this area.
Yeah, I mean, as aggregators, we're always looking at, as DEX designers, we're constantly looking at aggregators and see how we can optimize. And the Odos, shout out to ETH Denver, the t-shirt there, because that order flow shirt is still today my favorite t-shirt crypto. It's hands down the best, because that's what it's all about. It's when the rubber meets the road is how is the trade actually flowing. And so when we can really visualize it and compare the DEX aggregators, they're really the unsung heroes. Like if we're, quarterbacks and running backs, DEX aggregators, the offensive line, like they open the holes up, they allow us to get from point A to point B and, put the ball down the field for those that follow American football analogies. But yeah, we love aggregators. They're super critical in how we design and think about design protocols, especially DEXs. But yeah, what were your most exciting, I guess, milestones, Dana, that you've seen in aggregators? You said you're kind of a DeFi abstraction program, but for example, I was really excited for, when you do multi-swap from multiple tokens to one. And then I think limit orders I've seen on a couple DEX aggregators. Yeah, what are your thoughts on the DEX aggregator landscape, and how do you see different protocols trying to differentiate themselves? Because there are quite a few.
There are. Traditionally, DEX aggregators, at least in my opinion, have always been like a if you know kind of a platform. Many retail traders, they'll just default to whichever the largest DEX is on chain. And it wasn't until those retail users started to feel the pinch from price impact, from fragmented liquidity, or their trade sizes grew, they would have to go research those options themselves. And that kind of gave the misconception that DEX aggregators were, only applicable to whales, which is not the case, or that the gas fees are going to be, extraordinarily high because of the route optimization, or the complexity of the route, I should say, which is also not the case in 2025. But the way the landscape has changed is that the types of liquidity that are out there is really becoming fragmented. So there's like enough of an argument about what the L2 landscape is doing to liquidity that could otherwise be on Ethereum, but within those L2s you also have liquidity that is further fragmented. So it's almost as if you want access to the chain as a whole, you need to go within through the DEX aggregator route, regardless of your trade size, right? We have, one of our flagship products is the multi-token swap. We support up to 6 input and output tokens in a single atomic transaction. I talk to a lot of retail users that love this for DeFi rewards harvesting. So I'm very active on Curve. I'm very active on Convex. Once a month, when I get my rewards, I just sweep it all into one transaction, and then into ETH or whatever have you. And it makes your workflows, your money Legos, a little less tedious every month. And that is the direction that we're seeing, pretty much the entire industry move. It's not so much we're going to support this like a gigantic landscape from our one app. The apps are abstracting away that landscape for their user. So, we see a lot of account abstraction, chain abstraction, and, to a certain extent, liquidity abstraction when you use an API such as Odos. Retail has changed pretty significantly over the past year and a half, 2 years, really since DeFi summer. There's been, meme coins. Everybody has their opinion about them. You could say that they're more like interactive lottery tickets more than anything, but they're still going to be a consistent part of this market. So we do have to take those very volatile, very esoteric assets into consideration when we build our routing. So we're starting to expand into that. Some of the chains that we're going to be deploying on next will certainly speak to that. But we're also seeing, at least from my point of view, is a lot of Web 2 companies are approaching us, particularly in emerging markets like Africa and Latin America, where they want to bolt on-chain liquidity to their app to make international remittances very easy, to make there's a few in Latin America that you can manage your liquidity positions within their account abstracted, chain abstracted app. So I believe that's where that's the direction that it's going. I don't see a lot of, aside from new chain deployments, a lot of new DEXs with particularly unique configurations. What we are seeing is a push in the industry for third-party APIs that do one very specific trade very, very well. I'm not going to name any names, but that's kind of where it's heading. That's not to say that DEX aggregators will go away. It's just that the ecosystem is getting larger and in such a velocity that we have to actively go after it before it becomes commonplace. Otherwise, we lose our market share.
Yeah, and Deez, not sure if you have any thoughts on that before we move on to the next question here.
Yeah, no, I'm very curious of how it all evolves. But no, we can definitely move on the agenda. And in the spirit of the DEX aggregator landscape and the processing, I do have to run in about 5 minutes. So a trade that's getting routed, I do have to hop, I guess.
All right, he's dropping round two of Deez dropping here.
But I will, I will. If I drop out the next monologue, that's why. It's not me getting rugged. I am actually taking the door out. But
got it. Well, yeah, Deez, if you have to drop, that's totally fine. My next question for you, Dana, is, what is the biggest misconception people have about aggregators? Or I guess, what are some things you really want people to know about aggregators that sets Odos apart from others?
So, we are the only DEX aggregator on the market that supports fixed output swaps, which take into account MEV protection, price impact, slippage, and gas fees. So we are soon releasing our self-service enterprise API portal at the end of this month, and we're going to be supporting fixed output swaps over our V3 of our API. So we have a group of arbitrage traders that are particularly interested in this. And I think that's going to be very, very well received. throughout throughout the next year. Some of the biggest misconceptions is the technical lift with integrations. It's very intuitive, very easy to use. We have more APIs than just our smart order router API. We have an info API that you can parse various parameters of the Odos algo, like the liquidity sources that we use, pool sources or pool contract addresses, as well as token pricing. So the pricing engine that we use to power the DEX aggregator is also available as a free API. But like I was mentioning earlier, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that DEX aggregators are specific to whales. That might have been the case a few years ago, especially when you take into gas fees. But now all the DEX aggregators, even our competitors, are optimizing gas, so that's just really not an issue anymore. We are optimized for all trade sizes. Multi-million-dollar portfolio rebalancing, but also sweeping dust out of your wallet, right? So we have something for everyone.
That's incredible. So you guys, this is a project that clearly stands out amongst other DEX aggregators. And yeah, we're going to dive in. I want to actually tell people how to use this, where to get started, where to go. But I want to talk a little bit about the multi-token magic you guys have going on. So let's talk about multi-token swaps and how Odos allows swapping a basket of tokens in one go. How does that actually happen under the hood?
Yeah, so it's actually really, really intuitive. We are not limited to 6 tokens. We just settled on that number. Theoretically, the way we built the API, we could stack as many as we wanted to. We do it in a single atomic transaction. So that is not going to work. The only caveat is, tokens such as like a secondary mint or redeem feature would not be able to be included natively anyway,
Right.
like a fixed 4626 vault or something like that. But for most of the markets, or excuse me, most of the tokens in the space, you can certainly include up to 6 input and output in a single atomic transaction. So if you're a front-end user, it's very intuitive. We're making some changes to the DApp. We've just made some changes to the DApp recently, so I would encourage you to check it out. But it's very intuitive on the front end, but it's also intuitive on the API. So you can include, the full basket of tokens in 2 API requests. You request your quote, and then you request your assemble call, and that's really that's it. On our enterprise API, we're going to consolidate that into 1 API call, so you could get your whole basket returned. You can quote, and as well as get the executable call data returned in a single request.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds really cool. And I'm trying to envision, in an applicable sense, how a project like a DAO could potentially use this to manage treasuries. What are the benefits in, when this is actually applied to a project that's functionally using this, like a DAO?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have DAO treasury managers that like to use it, or not going to name names, but it is a VC fund that that manages their holdings, and then they show either the accrued vesting that they can then liquidate, and they built that themselves, and it works very well. We also have more retail accessible applications that are using it, such as cleaning the dust out of wallets. Or my favorite use case, though, is harvesting DeFi rewards.
That's awesome. And my next question for you here is, do you see this becoming the new standard for people, for projects?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I am of the cohort that still assumes that most people have come in through the Bitcoin door, which is not the case anymore. The next generation of users are not going to be receptive to the idea of fee markets and price impact and slippage. So reducing the clicks, reducing the friction, and reducing any barrier to getting more liquidity on chain really is going to be a step in the right direction. I know that over the past several weeks, we hear the term neobank. The idea of a neobank is not new in emerging markets, but I do believe that's the direction that we're going.
Wow, that's awesome.
Interfaces.
And I think really something very big and important to note here, kind of like the intersection of our projects, is that, just a quick piece of education for listeners. Odos is actually integrated with BMX. So that means when someone swaps on Odos, their trade can route through BMX. So it's BLT liquidity. And it's really like under the hood. And I think that's really cool that it's supporting this flywheel of BMX as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We love the BMX team.
Can you tell me a bit about I don't know, the relationship here, how you grew to know about BMX and build that relationship?
So BMX, I want to say, has been integrated for quite a while, maybe even before my time. But generally speaking, the way it works is if you are a DEX or you are a lending protocol, and you want to be integrated with Odos as a liquidity source to compete with that order flow, just simply drop a message, open a ticket in Discord, and you'll talk to me, and I can we can go, and we can usually get people integrated within a matter of weeks. We try to do a liquidity release once a month. So, we like to think of ourselves as very approachable. We have a fast, nimble, and responsive support team, and we try to get to integrations very quickly. But yeah, absolutely, BMX has been a great partner.
Awesome. And I'm curious, what is special about all this? As far as swap fees getting captured and funneled back into the BMX flywheel. So it's users are helping power the ecosystem without even realizing it. And I'm curious, with integrations like this happening across DeFi, what are you seeing on the DevRel side? Which teams are building with Odos right now? And how easy is it for projects to plug into Odos using their dApps?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we have about 150 API partners, and I am their primary point of contact for most of them. We support a variety of use cases, meta-aggregators such as Llama Swap through DeFi Llama, DEXs, of course, wallets, AI agents, treasury managers, a lot of trading firms in Asia, Singapore primarily. And like I said, I work with a lot of Web2 companies in the neobank space. Liquidity is cyclical. You can see the inflows and outflows every month. Sometimes it will be just for a dominant narrative on Twitter. Other times it will be a new chain and there's incentivized liquidity that will draw it there. But generally speaking, it travels in cycles. The trend that I'm seeing is, again, the third-party API calls for very specific trades. The DEX aggregators will still support them, but I believe that we're going to see more hyper marketing towards on-chain market makers. I will say that, right? But otherwise, it's been business as usual. I can't say that the use cases have changed too terribly much since we're a swap engine. So over the course of 3 years, the projects have gotten bigger. The chains, we've expanded to more chains. But generally speaking, DeFi is mature enough, at least in my opinion, that what we see is what we get. Now it's just a question of getting more users on chain.
Got it. Well, that's incredible. I mean, it sounds like you guys are really on a great trajectory, and the partnership, integration with BMX, I think it's just all really good for both projects all around. And I'm curious, just to kind of take a step back and hear your personal perspective, what are you most bullish on currently in the DeFi space? What is your sentiment around it, and what are you feeling the most optimistic about?
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, since you said your disclaimer at the beginning, so I'm very active on Curve and Convex. They have great fundamentals, and I've been a Curve user pretty much since the beginning. Very sharp, very smart team. I also like FX Protocol. They're also within the Curve ecosystem. Odos handles their leverage deleverage mechanism. If you're unfamiliar with that project, they have a liquidation break, so you can trade on leverage, but you won't get wrecked, or if you do get wrecked, it's in very specific parameters. There's another project that I met actually at a conference in Buenos Aires at the Avalanche Summit.
Nice.
The company is Notus Labs, but the wallet is called Chainless, and they're here in southern Brazil. I actually use their wallet. It is. I like it. And the UI is great too. and very, very fair rates for an on and off ramp. But like I said, I think that is the direction that we're going. Much of the emerging market community works entirely on mobile, right? So I think that
true.
needs to be more of a focus than we've seen, historically. But there's a lot. But and of course, Odos. We launched our token in December of last year. We do have a loyalty program. Right now, it is limited to swaps made on the front end, but we have discussed expanding that to all partners at some point in the future. But for right now, it works as a fee rebate multiplier. And we have full details on our docs portal that I'll link a little bit later.
Yeah, you guys, if you're watching this right now, please take note. And also, if you have any questions, I mean, I can see the comments coming in from our live stream chat on YouTube, periodically checking on X as well. But yeah, if you have any questions, comments, or if you want any resources, we'll be dropping those as we go. So yeah, Dana, thank you for sharing what you're most bullish on too. That's really awesome to hear. And I'm getting some messages come in on the back end here. I have someone asking about your thoughts on integrating Uniswap V4 hooks, and do they present unique challenges?
They do. So we do support V4 hooks currently, but we do not support, or I should say, we can support custom hooks ad hoc. So we do not ship as fast as we would have liked to. We're in the process of implementing Bunny. So any pools that are launched through Bunny will be supported natively. So to answer your question, we do support them, but there are caveats with the custom hooks. If you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to me. I'm very accessible.
Yeah, we'll get into where you all can reach, Dana. And before I move on, because I got some questions about your work on Base too, like what it looks like with Odos and the Base ecosystem. We're going to dive into that here in a second. Just to take a moment to look at some of our live stream chat comments on X. Let's see. I see Cali Crypto out there. He said, "Whoa, this is some high level stuff." We got Monster MF Per saying GM out, meow. Let's see. Okay, I got a question from Cali Crypto. So, is Odos mainly aimed at retail users swapping tokens, or is it a tool APIs and trading bots integrate with?
Both. So we have a DApp that currently, right now, first week of October, actually has a few more features than our API. Once we launch the enterprise API portal, that will have parity, one-to-one parity. And what I mean by that is on our front-end app, we have the protected market orders, which are fixed output swaps. We have our limit orders. We have cross-chain swaps powered by a cross protocol. And then once we release V3, we will include all of those features as well as permit to support. So to answer your question, most of our volume comes in through our API partners. But we have a DApp that functions just as well and has a loyalty program. Okay,
got it. Hope that answers your question, Cali Crypto. Yeah, if there's any more, I see Gauji out there. Cali says, very, very cool. Thank you. So, I got another question from Gauji. We'll come back to Gauji's question because I want to talk a little bit about Base and building in the Base ecosystem. So we're seeing Odos become more and more active on Base, and I'm curious, like, what is the overall vision there? Like, what do you guys hope to achieve on Base, and why have you chosen to double down on Base?
So like I was mentioning, the liquidity is cyclical. For a while, Arbitrum was the leader, and then it goes to BSC, and then it's kind of like bouncing around ever since the first pop on Solana. Like they make their profits there and they look for the next opportunity. But Base we deployed on very, very quickly. Not to compare it with BSC because I do think the communities are very different, but because Base has the name recognition of Coinbase as a centralized exchange behind it, I think that put them as a leader in the L2 wars because you have that that confidence. that comes with.
You have a behemoth.
You do.
So.
You do. I mean, it's not like they have an 800 number you can call if your transaction reverts or something, but still that psychological messaging.
I hope we didn't trigger anybody.
Right, right. Block stop as I mid-sentence, but no. So it was kind of a no-brainer. As an active DeFi user, Base has a lot of great opportunities for staking. There's still a lot of great yields there. There's a lot of liquidity there, and a lot of builders there.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel the same exact way. If you couldn't tell from my hat, I'm pretty bullish on Base. I really love this community. It's just one of the things for me is, I talk about my why a lot, like why I'm passionate about what I do. It always comes down to the people in the community. I really love the people, the individuals on Base. I think there's a really supportive kind of vibe that you get in this ecosystem. So that's a big thing for me that made me want to make Base my home. So love that you guys are here and, welcome. And I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on Base being a home for like next gen DeFi? Like, how are you viewing the Base ecosystem as a whole when it comes to DeFi?
I have a theory that a lot of the TVL on Ethereum mainnet is there because it would be so expensive to unwind the positions, which may be a cynical view, but I'm one of those people. So I think Base, if Coinbase were to bridge that on-chain and off-chain where they take their existing centralized exchange users and they show them on-chain DeFi opportunities with some guardrails in place, maybe some technologies that remove impermanent loss or something like that, or just abstract away all of the questions, I think that would, certainly get them farther. Because, from where I'm sitting, this space is actually much smaller than we believe. And like I was saying earlier, we can't assume that everybody came in through the Bitcoin door. Some people's first exposure to cryptocurrency was through the Robinhood app, so we need to follow those kinds of user profiles if we expect to grow our user base.
Totally. And I think now, something that BMX is really positioning itself for is the intersection of, the highly technical DeFi info projects and creators, right? Like I think there's a big educational gap when it comes to DeFi and concepts under that umbrella. I think we need to really demystify it and talk about it more in a public facing, like educational way. And I think stuff like this is really important, right? So we can meet people where they're at and break it down for them. So yeah, I think Base is really, prioritizing creators, and I think it's a good time for DeFi on Base. Sorry, I'm seeing some positive comments coming through in the background that made me chuckle.
Oh, there. Good.
Yeah, and I have a question from Gauji. Okay, cool. We've made it to the alpha corner, segment of our show. Rapid fire Q&A. So if anybody has anything, now is the time. Drop your comments in the chat. Drop your thoughts. Anything you want to chime in with here. I see you, Gauji. I see you, Ketchup, Dialethia, Cali Crypto. All of our friends out there, feel free to drop your comments or questions. But yeah, from Gauji, I have the trenches are changing faster and faster from chain to chain. What do you think? How important is the support of multi-chain / bridging in the future?
Very important. So we recently partnered with Odos Protocol. We have a subset of our 16 EVM chains supported, but we'll eventually get parity with Odos. But yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of reasons why a retail user would call one chain over another their home, right? And as a biz dev person or as a community person, you would drive yourself crazy trying to identify why and then chase that business as it happens. The safest position for you to be in is just support all use cases that you can, right? And of course, that's going to be multi-chain support. Eventually, maybe at some point in the future, we don't even have to really hard code chains. Maybe we can collect data and manage data in such a way that we can
you're going to say we could buy code chains.
Yeah, no, I'm sure we will if we haven't seen one already. But I think that's the way it's going to be, just completely abstract away the idea of any particular chain. Or, you could be of the argument that Ethereum turns into a settlement layer versus like a retail layer. I think it's still early in that aspect. One thing in my point or in my role is that you have to be a little bit discerning when you decide to deploy on a chain versus, you let it kind of play its course, because the story arc on some of these projects is like 3 to 6 months,
It's
so
a
you
big, it's
have
a big
to,
decision, right? Because
yeah,
I think as a project, like something I've analyzed like over the years is that you don't want to have like one single point of failure. You want to make yourself a multi-cycle, like kind of like bear-proof project, if you will. So kind of like having as little like like potential points of failure as possible, you know?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Let's see. I'm looking in the comments real quick, and I see one from Deez. Let's see. All right. So Deez has a question in the comments. He says okay, more of a statement. He would love to know more details on how cross-chain swaps work. If you haven't covered that yet. Okay, he commented that twice. And then Callie said that's going to cost you 1 Bitcoin because he
Yeah.
commented there. But
So yeah, the way it works is, a cross protocol does the heavy lifting. But generally speaking, what we do is we take our algo and we just create 2 routes, one on the source and then one on the destination. Okay, so we route to an intermediary token. It's then transferred, and then within the slippage tolerance that you've set on the destination, your funds are released. There are some cases where if your transaction reverts for whatever reason, you'll get USDT or USDC, the full value returned on the source chain. But we're actively working on monitoring, as well as like some liquidity simulation that would remove those, proactively remove those conditions.
very cool. Awesome. I hope Deez that answers your question out there. If there's anything that wasn't clear, if you want to expand on that, feel free to drop in the comments. Okay, I got one more question, and then I do want to dive into where folks can get started. I know you wanted to screen share and show where people can go to learn more to get started, so we'll dive into that here next. My next question, this is coming from Meowphosaurus behind the scene, you guys, directly from Meowphosaurus. He is saying, let's see, DeliSwap will be the first white label of Llama Swap on Base. We chose to prioritize trader outcomes by routing their trades through all aggregators, including Odos, rather than directing all trades through DeliSwap pools. How important do you think this will be to traders?
Very important. Yeah, DeFi Llama does a lot of volume, right? A lot of volume. The meta-aggregator model is definitely the way to go. Definitely.
Okay, awesome. Meow, hope that answers your question. If you want to, I see him typing back here. Hopefully that answers that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if you're integrated with Odos, our win rate is like 93% on some chains. You know what I mean? So we're probably going to see, the priority route more often than not. But there are some swaps where maybe we don't get the best rate, maybe we don't have that liquidity source yet. So I encourage people to look and to shop around. It's healthy.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Until I'll circle back to see what Meow says here, but I believe that's all the question we have. Let's see. I see a comment from Pixel, and I want to give a shout out to Pixel, you guys. She is a friend of mine who I knew before getting into crypto, and she has just advanced in leaps and bounds, created an NFT collection. She's out there. She's saying she's here learning a lot of big stuff and impact here. So yeah, welcome, Pixel. Happy to have you here. And yeah, I think Dana, I think we can move on to where folks can get started. If you want to share your screen, maybe we can start,
yeah, for sure,
our calls to action and show people where to go.
All right. So everything that I've talked about here today is available on our docs portal. That's docs.odos.xyz. So like I mentioned, our flagship product is the Smart Order Router API. We have a quick start guide here that can get you started. We have code examples in both JavaScript and Python. We have some visuals to help you understand. We have a breakdown of all our parameters. And like I said, we have our code snippets here. In addition to this, we also have our full API spec. This is a Swagger document here that has a full granular description of all parameters that you can use. We also have an API error code index. If and when you do run into an issue on the API, it's more often than not caused by an underlying DEX. We are building a proactive monitoring solution to do simulations in parallel to the production algo, where we'll be proactively removing problematic pools. But this is still a good reference for some of the more granular errors, such as gas or some other issues that may arise. In addition to our smart order routing quick start guide, we do have a swap widget. So if you were not a front-end person and you just wanted a turnkey React component that you could drop into your dApp, we do have an NPM package here that gives you what is basically the Odos interface, except we do not have the route visualizations that we have on our front end. We also have an MCP integration guide. It is a Python-based model context protocol that basically exposes the API endpoints within your MCP so that you can interact with quotes through, say, a platform such as Cursor. We are primarily known for our path visualizations. And now what I mean by that is we break down the exact route that your tokens are going to take. If you
I love how you just automatically went to dark mode too. You just like got like so many points.
Yeah, I thought light mode might be better on the presentation, but who am I kidding?
We love our eyes.
So yeah,
here.
So yeah, we have route visualizations. We also have what's called the liquidity zap API endpoint, and this will quote and assemble transactions to be deposited directly into liquidity pools. Uniswap v2 is currently supported, as well as Solidly, and that is it currently. Uniswap v3 and v4 are not yet supported, but they may change in the future. We also have a token pricing API, as well as a quick node marketplace add-on that you can enable on your plan, and then use the token pricing API directly over your quick node RPC or WebSocket. So I do want to mention, I think Deez had brought it up earlier about how competitive the space is. As of now, Odos does not capture a fee on API swaps if you include a referral code. We have recently implemented a fee on the front end. It's 3 bips on stables, 15 bips on volatile assets. Still very competitive. We do not underquote. But historically, we've captured revenue through positive slippage, which we continue to do on our API without the fee applied. And what that means is you have 60 seconds to quote and then assemble and execute that transaction. If the price moves to be more favorable to Odos in between the time of quoting and execution, we will keep the difference. You don't often see it on blue chip tokens or tokens with deep liquidity, stable swaps, things like that. But as retail has changed, we're seeing more meme coins, more volatile tokens. We have decided to maybe revisit this in the future. But like I said, we're releasing the enterprise API portal in the next few weeks. We will continue to maintain a public API, but we're going to also offer paid plans, like starter plans starting at $2.99 a month for higher RPS, like 10 RPS with a monthly request cap.
So is that a little bit of alpha here today, the enterprise API plans?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you guys, we're dropping some alpha here, right at the end.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, in addition to that, we over the next few weeks, we're deploying to Berachain by the end of the week. We're going to be deploying to Plasma immediately following that. We're actively working on Solana support. Don't have an ETA, but that should be ready in Q4. And then, of course, the Enterprise API Partner Portal. People will be able to manage their own API keys, but in addition to that, they'll have an analytics dashboard for their API requests, request volume, trade volume, chain breakdown, truncated error logs, everything that a developer would want.
So
In the
you're
meantime,
now
though,
we're just dropping all the alpha,
oh yeah,
all of it.
oh yeah, absolutely. So, but prior to our enterprise API launch, I can certainly provision an API key. I work with a lot of partners that create custom bespoke options. So yeah, if you want to reach out and get the conversation started, what you can do is just go to either our Discord or Telegram here and just send a message or open a support ticket and say that you're interested in integrating. And I'd be happy to get on a call and walk you through it. Otherwise, we could do it, async.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick, I just want to show my screen. I want to show where people can connect with you at Odos.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys on X, they're under the handle Odos Protocol. You guys have clearly built a significant following, and I love the branding, like the ancient Greek inspired
Oh yeah,
statue. That's really cool. I appreciate it. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, you guys clearly have built a very successful brand. You've put a lot into the branding, going to events. Were you in so you're in Seoul? Were you in Singapore?
I was not at either one of them. We had some of our team there, but no, I went to DevCon last year, and that was
Oh, nice.
about 46 hours to get home. So so yeah, so I'm going to Dev Connect this year though. I'll be in Buenos Aires.
Awesome. People keep asking me to go to that one. I'm kind of in that like heads down building mode as much as possible. Like I'll go to an event if
Yeah.
there is like, if there's something going on that's like relevant, or if it's a base event, I go to all the base events. But
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
we'll see about Dev Connect. By the way, I was a speaker at DevCon last year on one of the main stages. I don't know if you saw me
Oh,
in
cool.
Thailand.
There was a lot going on, but
There's a lot. Yeah, at
yeah.
this point in our industry, it's like, yeah, unless you schedule meetings with people, it's very easy to miss even your friends and people you know. Like
Yeah,
I hosted a base
sure.
meetup and I spoke on one of the main stages, but still there's always going to be, people you miss, or, so many things happening simultaneously.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, just a final call to action here, you guys. If you're watching this live stream, give a follow to Odos Protocol at Odos Protocol, and then you can open up their link tree. You'll see the link to the Discord here. You can go in depth, go into their docs, and start swapping today. And their official site is here as well. So I think that's everything. Maybe I'll just pass it back to you, Dana, if you want to share any final words of wisdom or anything coming up that you're excited about that you would like to share.
Yeah, just keep building. Crypto Twitter is not necessarily indicative of real life. So don't let comments get you down. But yeah, if you focus on UX and you have a real problem to solve, like a noble problem to solve, I'm confident you'll do well. It's still very, very early in a lot of respects.
So we're still early. Keep building. Also, touch grass, you guys. Like crypto Twitter is not life, okay? Like, and it shows if you're like in it too long. Like, I think it's important. Like, this is something I'm a big advocate for in this space. But mental health, right? Taking time for yourself, taking breaks, stepping away and touching grass when you can. Definitely a big proponent of that. So remember to touch grass, you guys. And yeah. Dana, anything else you want to build upon there?
No, I mean, this is great, but yeah, go to the beach. And some days, you know what I mean? I stay busy, but some days you just need to stare at the wall and really think about what you're doing and just kind of decompress for a minute, because yeah, this is a very, very chaotic space, especially after a couple years in it. But I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. I like working with high agency weirdos. That's what gets me going.
That's a great way to describe it. High agency weirdos. That's awesome. Yeah, I was talking to my girl Crypto Empress. Shout out Crypto Empress. I was talking to her at lunch over the weekend, and we were like, man, it'd be really hard to imagine us doing anything else. Like it would almost feel like kind of boring, like to like not be in it's because it's so fast moving, it's ever changing, ever evolving. There's always something new happening. It's like it's hard to be bored in this space, I feel like. Especially if you're
if you're bored, you're cynical.
Show up and build relationships. There's always something going on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this was great. This is a lot of
This was
fun.
fun, Dana. Listen, I want to do more with you guys moving forward. You have the support of myself, the BMX team, and you're coming on a day where this is, this big news just broke. On-chain media is acquired. I'm starting full time at BMX. So, yeah, I mean, anything that we can help you with, you got my information. We're here for you. And for everyone who tuned in, just thank you for everyone who's believed in me, on-chain media, BMX, who has been here from the beginning. I see all of you showing up week after week and really engaging. So that feels good to see you guys every week. And I'll run through and do my shouts. You guys know I always got to give my flowers to the community. Dialethia, Gaugy, Cali Crypto. We got a new person joining these streams, Pixel, now in the audience. So just shout out to everyone who shows up and is genuinely engaged and hungry to learn. So thank you guys, and we will see you on the next Let's Ride.